Hello, everyone. We'll wait a couple more moments, and then I'll just talk a little bit about my point of view on the most heated LTNC spaces we've had thus far. But I thought it was a needed spaces. What's up, Dusty Muffin? Um, it was a sight to hear. It was a sight to hear. It was comedy at some points. It was just like cinema. So, um, all right, I'll just get started. There's enough people in here. If anybody else trickles in, they can come in. And if anybody has anything they want to say or anything like that, just chime in. Totally, the floor is yours when that comes. But I guess to start, so before I start and I want to get into meat and potatoes, because I am recording this as well, and this might go on my YouTube channel just for inventory reasons, documentation. But to start, I do want to say, I appreciate, I respect, and I admired how, Tom, Brad, and Scott yesterday, they stood in the pocket and they took all the questions, right? They took all the questions, they didn't back down, and that was awesome to see. Uh, because you need to see that, being able to stand in the pocket and take all the questions and not pass on any. That is a little bit of a form of accountability and at least trying to give an answer. So, I appreciate that. I thank you to all three of those individuals for that. But what I was really proud of, what's up, Blackton Jack? What's up, Finkel Viking? What I was really proud of was seeing the shareholders for once really tangibly showing their frustration, but showing it in a way that I felt that management um, should at least feel it a little bit. Maybe not fully get the point home, but they get okay now. At least they know now. Okay, something needs to be changed a little bit, adjusted, and they need to be aware of our concerns a little bit more. So I want to give a shout out to I think Big Bull Run, give a shout out to Greeny, give a shout out to Wallace, Russ. Kip had a nice question. Hags was funny with that one question he just dropped in real quick with that quick one. Um, so that was funny. So everybody had something meaningful to say, and it wasn't just like rainbows. It wasn't just thank you for your hard work, you guys saved us, and um, and we held them accountable for that. So management, they were trying to say, oh, we're working hard. Really are working hard behind the scenes, and I don't think we really ever, as a shareholder base, uh, question their hard work or effort or them trying to do trying to do the task. I don't think that was ever specifically an issue. I think the issue gets into, which is a higher level of trying, is executing properly, right? There's a proper way to communicate with shareholders. There's a proper way to deliver information not only to the shareholders but to the public. Um, when you're a public company, you're in the public eye, and so you have to be mindful of your steps because, as we all know, there's a lot of people out here that follow the story to the T, and any reasonable person can say, okay, there's a lot of things that haven't lined up um, over time, and so what should we be celebrating? Outside of at least we're in the game, which is important. We're tradable and such. So that was good. And so also to my point, you know, about the negative tweets, I wouldn't even say I was overly negative, but it was stern, and I felt like I had to make a point. So as at the end of almost to the end of the call, crypto was brought up, crazy enough, by Shar, because when I was listening to the replay, I'm like, man, I wish I was on the call to at least ask my question to Tom about crypto. And lo and behold, Shar asked the question. And so I'm like, okay, for once, okay, thank you, Shar, for asking the question that I really wanted to know about the crypto with Ryan and Tom. And so I felt like Tom, that was probably one of his best responses ever to a question that was of real importance to me. Because in my eyes, and the reason why I do sometimes have unfavorable tweets, unfavorable point of views about this company is because somebody has to do it on a public scale. And last night was the very first time I really felt there was a lot of individuals that kind of stood up for themselves in the community. And the very first person I see is in here, Wallace. I want to give a shout out to Wallace. He stood on an island the spaces before, you know, and shout out to you. That takes guts, but somebody has to be the friction. We all can't go in the same direction, and we have to hold each other accountable and call out the things that need to be called out. So yeah, if anybody has anything to say, they can go ahead. Overall, it was a heated discussion. I felt like it was needed. Obviously, they have to prove themselves. We still have no points on the board. So they can say what they want about, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. Well, it's hard for us to jump on board with that. We're at this point, we just want it to, tangibly seen, and we can build off that. So yeah, there's a lot of people in here. Anybody have anything to say? All right. Any topics you want me to bring up? Oh, another thing I wanted to bring up is they wanted to pass off. I wish another thing that should have been brought up was the shares. And so, okay, yeah, we're mad about the audio's delay, which is fair. But what happened on that day as well? Scott and Brad got their preferred shares, or they sold 2 preferred shares. Now, I would like the explanation on that. Was that just because of their year of service, which timed up to be at the right time, or do they have to pick a day for when they sell those preferred shares into the market? And so you can't pass that off. Like, that's bad optics. No matter how you try to you try to spin the story. We have a delay, but at the same time, they're getting essentially paid what it seems like performance is probably for their year of service, but it seems like it was almost for performance how it aligned up. So optics there. So we can't be seen as the bad guy there as shareholders. Request. Okay, locked in, Jack. Yep, you're on. All right, you're muted.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Hey, so like I mentioned, I was talking to some of you guys earlier. I caught some of the spaces towards the end. Yeah, people had a lot of like very direct points to make, and it was all good to hear. Me, I asked you guys if what was mentioned about locked in and the stat brand specifically. I'm confident in the audio thing with Cookie's side doing the marketing and everything there, and their popularity already drawing attention. The snack company, a lot we still need to know about, but locked in specifically getting on shelves. I was personally excited when it was about a month or two ago that it was a pharmaceutical distributor, that Sencora or Kencora, whatever. They were the ones that were given the keys to distribute, and I'm assuming they do marketing too. I like this idea a lot, and I'm reiterating some of the points I made. That maybe the Sprouts direction, the gym's direction. We understand it helps athletes and all that stuff too. I feel like if these guys are in the right pharmaceutical spaces, whatever their retailers are, I'm talking places like where, for example, my city has, they sell beverages, but they're mostly a pharmacy too, like CVS, Rite Aid, Walgreens. I do like that idea that we would be seeing it put on those shelves. Like, I'm really a big fan and like looking forward to how this goes. Mm-hmm. You get what I'm saying? Like,
no, I agree. And I think what's cool about Sencora is it's going well. There's going to be a retail aspect, but there's like it's business to business too. Like, it's a platform where They work with pharmacy companies. I think they'll work with hospitals as well. And at least
Yep.
we'll be we'll be on the menu, right? So with Sencora, I don't know how it works, but it's like, okay, we have like these beverages, and then the hydrogen water might pop up. It's like, oh, hey, here's a functional beverage that you might want to stock, right? And so that's a nice platform to have with a big company.
Yeah, let me bring up another pretty unique point. When we first heard about the hydrogen water, and that was our first product. I don't think we had even had it delivered yet to anyone. Um, Joe was on a Spaces very early on when it was back when it was Stan doing the Spaces, and Joe went on a decent amount about the hydrogen water because really it was that was our only product at that point.
Mm-hmm.
He mentioned some specific points about how like he talks to doctors, doctors talk to him. He even made this one specific phrase I remember, if I'm not mistaken. He said something like, doctors will even talk to him about, certain supplements and this and that, and they get some advice from him. That was like one of the major points where I opened my eyes to like the hydrogen water. And then when I started to use it, I saw what that whole talk was about and what, so honestly, like that's that's a big like thing that would be a huge step for the hydrogen water, not specifically even our brand, but for the hydrogen water to be more talked about in the medical field, specifically by professionals and doctors.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Agree.
the sky becomes the limit, sort of at that point, with like what you can do when
Yeah, I agree.
you know what I mean? Yeah.
The hydrogen water, I feel like that's what I call like a daily refrigerator type of product. If we can get that type of awareness across America, like people can have that in their refrigerator at all times. Like that's the goal in the beverage industry. I think what the hydrogen water needs, I think it needs like a higher level of funding. I'm not a scientist. I'm not Danny Day. I don't know the manufacturing process, but a lot of the issues we've had in the past with the product has partly because came because hydrogen's a finicky product, a finicky element to begin with. It's the smallest element in the world, and like the dense. You don't have the natural carbonation like a Coke or another carbonated product could have. So that was always an issue. The different ppm levels, obviously, Danny doesn't seem like he's a part of anything anymore, but obviously he had the highest ppm, but the highest ppm cost the most, so now we have a lower ppm. So there's a lot of things that go into play where I feel like the hydrogen water just needs a little bit more of a higher level of funding, and that probably needs to come outside of us.
And that funding would probably have to do with some investors stepping in and taking a little risk because yeah, you're talking about the cost of manufacturing, margins, all that important. Those will work itself out as long as like the product starts selling.
Mm-hmm.
And just I didn't like the whole marketing push into like towards that space of just everyday people who just are in the store or whatever, and they want to grab something just for refreshment and a little boost in energy. That's not what we're competing about. The hydrogen water is should be aimed towards people with have ailments, stuff like inflammation and the we've had real people who with real the reviews
Issues and
about how
ailments,
it
yeah.
helps. There was more than a few people who mentioned how themselves or a relative who deals with bad inflammation due to stuff like cancer. They specifically mentioned that word. Like it's real testimonials too, you know? Now, I don't know anyone with that specifically, but my own inflammation, a lot of the shareholders, they talk about how they use it and how it helps them, whether it's the morning boost, the mental clarity, which I feel too, and like all that stuff. That's why I like the push with the Sencora and like them marketing it and getting it into the health field, focusing on that rather than the athletic performance and all that stuff. Like
Because
because
it's a lot stickier of a market too. If you're getting into
yup.
healthcare and stuff, they like it, and it's you can get subsidies, like government subsidies, when you start working with the government and health and such.
I didn't even know that.
Well, yeah, like Cencora, like pharmaceuticals and stuff like that, health. Like, so there's definitely like a tie in there, and it's a lot stickier. What I felt like we should have been doing the last 4 years before we even got ingratiated with like Brad and Scott is we should have just pushed the hydrogen water and the nootropic energy drink. We stripped everything else away, and if we would have just focused on those two things, I felt like we would be in a lot different of a position. I felt like in the past we were trying to work on way too many things, like the Texas teas or like the different flavored waters. Where if we just master what we're truly good at and what got us to the party, you know, we would be in a totally different situation now. And so looking at where the company's going forward, they've made it a note and they made it a point that Adios has got it for locked in for everything else we have to really kick off. Adios is going to have to be that, that engine to do it for us. And so hopefully they stay focused on that. I don't really want us to be worried about different other things.
I
I rather
understand that. Sorry to cut you off. I
no, go ahead,
understand
go
that Audios being the best bet right now, considering the ties with Cookie and the branding we've seen so far. It all looks great. It's sort of like sounds like we would want to focus on that for financial purposes, and to be able to fund, I guess, a harder push for locked in. But at the end of the day, we're talking about two different things, like there are two different kinds of beverages. Um, I don't. Yeah, I get we don't like the idea. It seems like we're pushing locked in into the background compared to Adios, but yeah, I understand it from a financial perspective, taking the best bet with Adios and having it fund every look good on the quarters, to help out the stock, the shareholders. But I think locked in just needs a different, locked in needs its own marketing campaign.
It needs money. It just
Yeah.
needs money. I agree. It like for what it needs, like it needs safe distribution. It needs to be like shipped and delivered in big pallets where it's not going to get tossed on package trucks and such like that. I don't think it's an accident that we haven't seen a successful hydrogen water company ever. I mean, we're still at it. I wouldn't say we're successful, but there's a long list of other companies that have tried, and there's a lot of things that just has to work itself out. But I'm still pretty confident if it gets the right type of funding. Anybody else got something to say? This is a good conversation. Do you have something else to say, Jack?
No, anyone else want me? No.
No. Yeah. Anybody else? That was a good conversation. Yeah, for Adios, I mean, at this point, Adios essentially has to work for us. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm at the point where I don't know how many more lives we have. I mean, we've had so many different chances, and with takeover taking the bankruptcy, we're not really affected that much because we're in a different shell like company now. So that worked out there. But when does the musical chair stop, right? So hopefully this is finally the end. There's a lot of people. In Russ, do you have anything to say? Dusty, Jason, Mike, you have anything? Shout out to you, Mike. You're always doing the spaces really well. I've seen your progress over time. Really smooth getting people in and out. So kudos to you. K Lion, you're in here. All right. If nobody says anything, I'm just going to wrap it up. That was a quick little call. All right. Okay. All right, y'all. We'll keep this conversation going. And if anything else pops up, maybe I do impromptu spaces again. Oh, okay, Mike. You got something? Now people want to get in. Okay. All right. Both y'all are in. Yeah.
Wanted to say thanks for coming on here and doing your thing. Since you said my name, I figured I'd come on and say a few words. If these guys are able to pull off the audio thing, I think we'll be in way better shape than what we currently are. No idea why the share price just keeps dropping. And you're correct on they should focus on having just a few products and be really good at selling those products before they do anything else. That's all I really wanted to say.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you, Russ.
Yep.
Mikey.
hey, thanks for doing this. It's good to have somebody not involved with the company hosting the spaces, and that way, if people want to ask questions or have their comments. Last night there was positives about the spaces, but there also was a lot of negatives. I definitely appreciate when shareholders question these guys, but it seems like they got a little personally attacked last night, and I think there's a way to ask questions and there's a way not to ask questions, and some of it might have crossed the line a little bit last night. I'm not saying anybody was wrong with the questions asked. You got to ask the tough questions. There's no doubt about it. Because it's been a 4-year struggle, but sometimes it does go a little far. These guys do work, and they have come up with a bunch of concepts, and some have worked and some are to be determined. We all know that. And I do appreciate all the shareholders last night that spoke, but sometimes it did get a little out of hand. I think that any new investor that listened to the call last night would probably want to run away. I don't know if you agree with me on that, but I did not think that was the best. I definitely appreciated the questions, but the way it went over, if you were a non-investor and you were said, oh, I'm thinking about investing in this company, let me listen to the spaces, and you heard what the shareholders, how it went down last night, you probably would walk away, wouldn't you? I'm asking you.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mikey. 100%. It was when you look, so when you think about it as like family, like you keep your things inside the family. You don't really allow the world to see what's going on, the turmoil. And so I agree with you there. Like, and we try not to we try to keep things business oriented. Not personal. I understand that maybe at some aspects of it, it felt personal. And if a new shareholder came in and saw that, yeah, they'd probably scare them away. But I would also just say on the other side of it, that was to give us shareholders a little grace. This is like that was like a culmination. Like we were like that was like a culmination of all like the transgressions that has led up to the spaces, because it never was like that in the past with past spaces.
Totally.
And I don't think it's something that
totally understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I don't think it's something that's going to be something in the future too. Like I think if we all left the conversation, continued wanting to do our jobs and play our roles, the next phases should really be back on schedule.
I'm
but
hoping.
I do understand.
I'm hoping. I mean, I can say one thing: these guys definitely are working. They're working every day. There's been some setbacks. There's no doubt about it. I think people saw Guinea's tweets month two ago. There's been some setbacks. There's been a lot of questions about the reformulation of the nootropics, and I try to break it down to people like this. I'm really good friends with Hags. I talk to him every day. I'm good friends with Russ. And I say it like this: I believe that the nootropic drinks did need to be reformulated. Why? If you walked into a gas station tomorrow and you've never heard of Locked In and you never tasted the beverage before, and you bought one for $2 or $3 and you tasted it, you would probably never buy another one, because that taste is a little different than the usual energy drink, nootropic drink. And so I believe the reformulation will work and it will make it more appealing to the taste. Yes, after we drink 5 or 6 of them, it's kind of like when we all first started drinking Red Bull, not to change the subject, but Red Bull tasted really weird when it first came out. Then all of a sudden, if you drink enough of them, you're like, wow, this is really good. I like this taste. Well, with a nootropic drink, it's kind of like that. Well, unfortunately, everybody wants us to be in retail. Everybody stomps their feet all the time. We got to be in retail. We got to be in retail. We got to be in retail. I agree 100%. Retail's the best place to go. But if you have a product that is a niche product and somebody picks it up and they're comparing it to something else taste-wise, I don't know if they pick it up again. How do you feel about that?
I agree. I think that that flavor, like the first initial flavor that we came out with, like that taste, that it's too niche. Like it doesn't it's not for like everybody. So
I love the idea of Syncora. And the reason I love the idea of Syncora is because it can lead to white labeling. And I know a lot of people are in business, and I know a lot of people are not in business in this call. But if you don't know what white labeling is, which I assume most people do, but white labeling is when you take a product and you put your name on it, such as you see Aldi's has their own brand, Walmart has their own brands. Those are just different products, maybe a little formulation change up, and they're branded as their products. You know, it might be a different name, but I believe with this Syncora thing, it could lead to a lot of white labeling opportunities where, stores take our products, say our hydrogen water or something like this in the future, and they can white label it and sell it as their own. And of course, we make the money for production, we make the money for sales, and they sell a product. Because the more education about hydrogen water, as you were saying earlier, and of course Russ and everybody, the more education we have about hydrogen water, people really believe in the product. And sometimes, not everybody knows what locked in is. I'm telling you right now, if I went out there and I surveyed 500 people, if I went to Walmart today and asked them what locked in is, the over under is 0.5 that somebody would have heard of it. So, but if you pick up, I'm not going to say any names because then somebody's going to say, "Oh my God, we got to deal with this company." But just say we went to Chestnut Checkers retail store, and Chestnut Checkers had Chestnut Checkers, hydrogen water, and somebody in the thing, "Oh, what's this hydrogen water all about?" You're more likely to buy it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. 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 I believe it sells it like once a person tries it, and sometimes it takes 1, 2, sometimes 3, but then at that point, the body, how I remember my first time trying it, I felt like my body told me it was like, wow, you've been missing this. Like it's just like another level of hydration. It's amazing. So I agree with you.
There's I totally get it. And last night, like I said, last night's Spaces was very good for most of it. A little bit I could have did without, and I probably could have stepped in there. But the last thing I wanted to do was mute people in the middle of questions, because I don't, you know what I mean. Shareholders need a voice.
Mm-hmm.
Shareholders need this, and I believe you're right that it was a culmination of some frustrations. But I will say this as a shareholder, as a person with locked in, and everything like that, is these guys are working for you. And I know that, like, it seems like they're throwing, they're throwing golf balls in different holes at all the time. Well, when you're financing a company and you're trying to make it the best company it can be, and you're trying to accomplish everything, sometimes there's going to be a little growing pains, and maybe there's been way too many growing pains. I think we all agree with that. But I'm really hoping that this Syncora thing and this Adios thing could be big, because at the end of the day, I know a lot of people never heard of cookies before this, but a lot of people have. And Berner is a big time person, and he's got an alcoholic ready to drink tequila right now. And I don't drink alcohol. I made that perfectly clear. But I know some people that have, and I know for a fact that they're not really crazy about the RT, drinks out there that are tequila. So if we got a winner here, it would be great,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm really excited.
I mean, if you got any questions for me, I mean, I already told Tom I was coming on here, and I'm answering away.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care.
Okay.
I just.
All right.
I never really get a chance to talk because I let them guys do it. And, obviously I'm not going to make any mistakes and slip up and say anything I can't. I mean, I pretty much correct them guys when they slip up and say stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Russ said I had reverb. Do you hear that, Mike?
I don't hear anything. No, I hear you perfectly clear.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for No Gimmicks while we're on? I'm trying to think of something. He's been sharing a lot. Well, I guess I have a question, because I only see what's on the surface. What has, in your eyes, what has been your role in this company brand building process? We know on the paperwork that you have 20 million shares, and I feel like you're one of the people that actually deserve the shares, because we've been able to see you actually tangibly help So is there any other roles that you're helping with, or is it just, you know, the
I
media
used
part?
to, I've done you name it, I've done it. My role has shrunk as of late. It's become more of board of directors and obviously C-suite. But in the beginning, I used to be calling can companies and setting up interviews to get cans, like stuff like that, ingredients. I'm the one that came up with the idea of having the nootropic drink unofficially. It wasn't a nootropic drink, that was Joe. But when we were spitballing ideas in the beginning, I was like, the most popular item they had was the original shot, and then that's where the nootropic drink was born. There's no shot. It's a nootropic drink with a different formulation, but it has the same effect as a type of shot with the different ingredients, different anything. It's nothing to do with the shot. I'm the one that the idea was for flavored hydrogen water. So then I looked into the flavors that people would like. Because I remember I used to have a Discord a long time ago, and people always used to ask about flavored hydrogen water. So we brought that up. I used to run some of the social media as far as posting stuff, never marketing. I'm not in marketing. I'm not going to pretend to be a marketer. I'm not going to pretend to be a graphic designer. So I was never really involved in that, but pretty much anything they needed done at any time. And I always kept the temperature of what the room was and what the the customers were looking for and what the shareholders were looking for, and probably about 25 more things that, I mean, I just could go on and on and on, but kind of like a utility man in baseball, whatever it took, and when we're losing in the ninth inning and we're down 10-2, I start pitching. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I feel you.
that's pretty much. And these guys work their
You,
butts off. Like, I know you guys
yeah.
don't see it, but like Hottie is involved in everything. And Hackub, anytime there's a website thing or development of a website or anything like that, they call Hackub 24/7, and Hackub's on it. Shannon is, I mean, she's got so many roles, and she's back. I can't even get in there. Chuck was very valuable. Chuck was amazing. Chuck was on top of customer service. The amount of emails they would get, amount of returns, etc., whatever it was. I mean, these guys. I mean, I know you guys see, like, let's face it. Back in the day, when we used to buy shares, a lot of us were buying at all different price loads. So we might have $20,000 in and have 3 million shares or less, right? So all of a sudden, these guys are getting, they got offered 20 million shares for their services, and everybody's like, wow, 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 wow. Well, people have to understand, at the time that these shares were promised, the company wasn't tradable. There was no guarantee of being tradable. And the shares value was $2,000. And I know a lot of the people don't understand it. It cost about $3,000 to sell those shares for $2,000. Plus, you have to pay commission. I'm being 100% serious.
No, yeah, it takes a lot for you to guys to sell the shares.
You have to pay for an attorney letter. You have to pay fees to clear trust. You have to pay transfer fees. You have to pay thousands of dollars to a broker that will take your shares to do an attorney review. Then you have to put them in there. And then when you finally sell them, if you sell them, which I have not sold any shares, you can publicly say that. If you do sell them, it's about 6 to 15% commission. So just so people know, yeah, 20 million shares is awesome. For the amount of work I did for the 20 million shares, if I was to be paid for all the work I did for that over that timeline, it probably would have been the equivalent of probably about 40 grand to 50 grand. So you divide that by $2,000, and you know what I mean, like. And I know people are like, well, they could have went and got professionals. Mikey's not in this. Mikey might have owned a business. Mikey might have did this. Mikey might have did that. You get professionals, the 40 turns into 100. You know what I mean? And there was nothing professional because at the time we didn't even have a name. We had one beverage. You know what I mean? We stepped on in the beginning, and then because we stayed in so much work, we were offered the shares and stuff. And that's pretty much how it went. It went down, and I'm glad I did it because it has nothing to do with the shares or whatever. I just did it because I wanted to try to save mine and my friends' investment. And then my friends turned into a bigger group of friends because, you get to know everybody. I mean, dude, I'm in this Discord. I'm on Twitter every day. I got people, emailing me back in the day, and it's just, it's a lot. It's a lot. I got personally attacked by people, and all I was trying to do was help. And like I said, when these volunteers stepped in, they were volunteers. I mean, I don't know about that like little advisory to the board. None of us were that. You know what I mean? We were volunteers, but after a while, when the amount of work is, that's when they were offered their shares in the consulting role. You know what I mean? Like a consulting role. And they earned it. Let me tell you something. Trust me when I tell you, these guys that got shares, and there's not that many of them in the volunteer role, they earned their shares. They really have. I can say that. They've earned their shares. Believe me, for all the work I did, I wouldn't want nobody to be getting shares if they didn't earn them.
No. So. I agree. I think, I think most shareholders would say, I think the effort's always been there. I think, obviously, it's always it's going to be opinion based. It's just execution. But I do believe, even going back, I always give Tom credit. Like, my favorite version of Tom was pre-Pink Tom, because it was head down. We have a goal. We haven't proved anything yet, and that goal was Pink, and that was the style I truly enjoyed, because it was just performance based. That was the first goal, and then kind of after we got Pink, I felt like management in general kind of let off the gas a lot, and they forgot the goal at hand. I don't know the reasons behind it, but we just kind of were scattered around and stuff. So if you guys, if management can just get back to, just focusing up, head down. And what somebody brought up last night is, we just want honesty. Like, we don't need to be sold to. Like, we sold our souls to this company a long time ago. If you're still here, you're going to be here for the long run until you see a profit at least. So, shareholders just want the honesty portion. You guys work hard, but we want the cold hard truth, and we would like information told to us in advance. Like, I don't think there was any information that Adios was going to be getting delayed until you go to the very bottom of the quarterly report. And so it's just like things like that we want to
totally understandable. And a lot of people did ask, well, why was Adios announced so early? Well, Adios was announced early, obviously, because of Manny Pacquiao coming off his Hall of Fame appearance and then fighting. So that's why on Adios. And there was some delays. I really can't get into them because I would be misspeaking, because I don't really know the exact reason for the delays. So I would just be like talking off, just not being honest. I really don't know. But that's why it was announced back then, and I think they did a really good job with Manny with it on his shorts, and obviously Brandon Figueroa, and I think it's going to be a great product because I've done a lot of research on cookies since then, and this guy doesn't do anything bad. You know what I mean? Like, everything this guy does when it comes to his brand, he's very protective of his brand. So I'm very confident that it's going to be amazing. I hope. I don't drink, so you guys will have to let me know. As far as locked in, I'm hoping by the end of the month they do ship those new flavors. I'm really looking forward to the upgraded taste of the flavors. I wasn't really crazy about all of them before. I liked the pineapple one. But I wasn't really crazy about the cherry one, so I'm looking forward to that. And I mean, I did see stuff about the Texas tea and the kids' water. Yeah, I got kind of on the same page as you guys with that one. I won't get into that. Yeah, that was whatever.
Jack. Oh, my bad. Do you have something else? Jack wanted to say.
Yeah, go ahead, Jack.
Two of the points that Mikey made just to spin off of it. When it does come to like the product, the marketing we did with getting on shelves and how tough it is, and you're talking about walking into a store and just you're gonna see locked in and it's not gonna do anything. This is where little things like new startups, companies, brand new brands do is simply getting your own fridge space. Yeah, it's gonna be more expensive. You get a little cardboard stand, and on that stand, the smallest things you can do, like just words you write, like about what makes this product stand out, really gets their attention. Because walking up to the can or the box that it's in, like a lot of people don't do that. It's just really from a distance where they something catches their eye. And when you're putting locked in, like, for example, in this whole like sea of other performance enhancing beverages or whatever these things is, it's a whole sea of them, and it doesn't really stand out. Someone would have to actually go grab the can, read it like up close. That's not what we do. If we did that, all of us would be like spend hours in the store, like going and reading each brand. So a little stand on the, that a cardboard stand to put it up there. Or another tactic you see new brands using, you have someone standing in the store giving out some free samples. And what's really valuable is this person has all this knowledge to share with you to what makes this product stand out, which is crucial. The education part is crucial when it comes to the hydrogen water. I like the nootropics being in the field with the rest of them, and I like Mikey's. I'm not. I never really drank a lot of the nootropics, but yeah, the tasting, I guess, would, if it could be improved, and that's a good way to go. I like the whatever you. I think Data was saying about our focus was the hydrogen water and nootropics, and they should be focused on. Me, for example, I love the coffee. I drink it daily, and I yeah, I don't drink the nootropics that much, but I do agree with the point that those two should be the ones that are the main thing, and then products like the coffee, which again I think are amazing, would be complementary products, alkaline water, whatever else, then they could help boost. People will like them, I think. And then yeah, the other stuff just he was saying about the shareholders, it's all true. Like me personally, I'll say too. I can say it publicly. Like I accepted shares, but don't think for a second that I didn't consider immediately like how it would look to outside shareholders and how it looks like such a big amount given. I'd be stupid to turn it down, so really didn't think much of it. I mean, didn't really like debate about it. We did put in a lot of hours. Me and Mike have had a lot of talks. He knows a lot of personal stuff about me, and there were points in this journey where um, it was like pretty stressful for me too, especially when I wanted to be very assertive with my opinions. And then I understand how the corporate ladder works now. Like this is my first time being part of a corporation, and I see how tough it is and how things are different. And I had periods in my life where like it sort of affected my daily life too, just everything that was happening. And I fought through it. Whatever, I'm gonna stick through it till the end. Um, Also, on none of the shares I ever got are even unrestricted at all, much less have I sold a single one, you know, even though I could have gotten them unrestricted months ago. I don't want to go for pennies either, man. We've been here this long. We care about it this much. We see the, the possibilities that, what this could do. We're talking like people, it sounds crazy to some people, we're talking about you get a good brand, you're going to get the attention of the big guys, and eventually the goal is a buyout, just like that has been saying for years, just like Brad said, right, on his one of the last spaces, like that is the goal. And like, you got the product, just it's possible with this brand is all I'm saying. And also, we didn't even bring up thing either. We mentioned the three brands, we didn't bring up Go Fast. That's I
It's not. It's technically not. It's not ours
but we get 75% of the sales for the next 3 years, right?
No.
No.
What was it then? 25%?
No, I don't want to get into that, but there's a lot of very confusion about that.
There was a PR that like stated.
So yeah, in my opinion, don't even worry about Go
Yeah.
Fast. Just how the PR said it is, we sold it off, and if we decide to sell it ourselves within the next 3 years, we get like 25% of the proceeds. So really, to me, it doesn't make sense to even focus on it, in my opinion.
Okay,
That
doesn't
PR was it did more confusion than it was. I mean, yeah, I'm not even going to get into that because one thing about me is if I don't know what I'm talking about, I'm not going to say it. But
this
like,
sounds like a great
we took
question
a
for the
big
board
step back.
yesterday. Like, I don't know why we haven't
Yeah, but
clarified that.
yeah, but you're not understanding what they're saying. Trust me.
I get what you guys are
It's
trying to say. It
items
doesn't
that
make sense.
they sell. They sell.
Yeah.
Not everybody. Like not everybody. But I don't want to get into that in this mix up right now. It's because we shouldn't be talking about this.
It's
So that
it's a
okay. It's
publicly open
tabled for
PR.
later.
It was on the
That's
PR.
tabled
So
for
why
later.
not? We can
Because
discuss.
you're not, because you don't understand it.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking about.
It's 75% if they sell. So if they sell it to your store, they get whatever percentage is that. But if GTVH sells it to their people, they don't get 75%. People are very confused about it.
So this is like hinging on.
I'm not talking about this subject anymore.
Okay.
I'm just not talking about it.
Sure.
Because you're going to say something wrong, or I'm going to say something wrong, or Chess is going to say something wrong, and it's pretty much, this is one of those times you throw the cards in the muck and you just let it go.
I'm just trying to get clarification on what was publicly.
You're not going to get clarification from Chess, and you're not going to get clarification from me.
Well, there's everyone else reads English
I just
too.
go off
That
the
they
PR.
can
I don't know
understand.
anything else. Dusty, what you got, Dusty?
There he is.
Yeah, he can speak whenever. Dusty, all right. Just flip it on whenever. I do want to bring up, because he brought up coffee. I do think coffee needs to be on the list too, and I feel like we aren't reaching our potential on the coffee. We could have medium roast, we could have dark roast, and we can have light roast, all in different K cups and like designs. And I feel like we already outsourced that anyway. So how much more effort would that be? You know, I'm not saying we do that right now, but if we start getting pulled with some of our other products, why can't we expand out the coffee line? Out of all things that have stood the test of time and still growing, it's coffee, you know, and we have a good product. I drink my mom loves it. I drink it every day. And I think we're leaving potential on the table as of now.
Yeah, and I'll definitely pass any coffee questions on to, Tom, and just tell him what the people feel. And, there's a lot of different things. And just think, me and Locked In Jack are not arguing about the go fast thing. It's just the PR is a little confusing, and the last thing I want is something we say to be interpreted wrong. That's why I'm not going to speak about it. Just to put that.
We'll ask next time that space is next LTNC shareholder spaces. Somebody needs to ask that question then to see if they can get better clarification.
Yeah, because I read it kind of like you did, Chess. See, I don't talk to these guys as much as I used to. So that was one of the things. I kind of read it like you did. So that's why it's just a little confusing. But other than that, like I said, these guys are working, trying to get this adios thing done. They made a couple announcements last night. They put out a PR this morning, and hopefully everything starts.
Yeah, you guys are on the clock, actually, Mikey, because they said something's coming this week.
Yeah, so they definitely put themselves on the clock. They love to do that. So you heard me say about 3 or 4 times at the end of spaces, we just need to put points on the board. We just need to put points on the board. Hopefully they can put some points on the board, and it's better than a free throw that clanks off the backboard and barely goes in.
Yeah. Does anybody have anything else to say before we wrap up? Dusty, anything to say before we wrap up? I think it was a good call. Okay, there you go, Dusty.
What's up, man? It's Hags.
Oh, what up, Hags?
What's going on, bud? Appreciate you putting this on for everybody.
Yeah.
Mikey, Rusty, what's going on, fellas?
You know what, Hags? I talked to you enough during the day. I'm not talking to you.
Nah, on my end, you probably heard me last night, but it's kind of the same thing with the marketing, the PRs, we got this guy Isaac coming in our Discord and just shooting his mouth off, and it's just really unprofessional, man. And I feel like we're 4 years into this, 5 years into this. At this point, I feel like we should be more established, more professional. It's all over the place. It's not cohesive. He gets on the call last night with Tom, and Tom's acting like he's his best friend, and he's got to be one of the biggest clowns, and this is the guy that's responsible for getting our message out there and, I don't know, drumming up support for the brand. And it's the same. Like Wallace said it, a bunch of other people said it on Spaces and say it in Discord all the time. It's miss PRs. It's the same old shit over and over again. It's not good, and nothing's changed. And these guys keep getting a free pass, and they got torched last night, in my opinion. And rightfully so. They deserve it. They deserve everything they got coming their way. So, I'm happy with Adios, but I think you said it earlier. If Adios doesn't hit, I think that's it for us. Like, what are we going to fall back on? Locked in with no funding? I don't think that's going to work. So,
Okay, so to legitimately answer this question, because I've thought about this a lot, because I'm obviously I invest. If Adios does not work, obviously, yeah, like we're essentially pretty much almost a death blow. The difference is that what we didn't have before, we still have at least a skeleton semblance of a business that we could still manufacture, we could still distribute, we could still hopefully build a brand. Like, we haven't proved ourselves to be able to build a brand yet, but those are still things on the table. If back like 2 years ago, if Locked In didn't work, if we didn't make a sale, if shareholders didn't buy cans, we weren't making money. So I will say it's a little bit different this time, but that was just more technical of your question. What do we do next? And that goes in, do you believe in management is able to overcome an Adios failure? Which, that's a different conversation to have. But
I don't.
yeah, I just wanted to put that in.
No, I appreciate it. I don't know if they could do it. They claim they can.
Mm-hmm.
Brad tweets out, we hear the noise. We have 14,000 pre-orders, yet no payment was taken at the payment screen. When you punch in your order, it doesn't take your money. So now you got to go back and get how many people to give their credit card information or their Shopify account or their Zelle, whatever it is. And then you got to convert those to sales. And a bunch of people, not asking Brad to respond, but I think like 7 or 8 people, responded to his post on X, and it's all the same stuff. Like, how many people are you actually going to convert? What of those 14,000? Say we have 14,000 pre-orders. Is it 14,000 orders? What is it? It's a big question mark. But listen, Mikey said it before. I frequent a couple adult beverages. The ready to drink tequila side, there's not that much. High noon tequila, it's not that good. So there's definitely, you could definitely get in there. Like I said, you don't need every single sale. You just need some market share. You got to drum up some sales. So I'm excited, but at the same time, it's misstep after misstep, and I feel that a ton of shareholders are just sick and tired and fed up with the same bullshit over and over again.
Yeah, I agree with you. Thank you for coming in and speaking your mind, and really great insight.
Yeah, appreciate you, man. Always. Hope all is well by you, and we'll talk soon.
All right. Yep. All is well over here. All right, guys. I think that's going to be it for us tonight. That was almost an hour on Spaces. Great call. We'll do this again as needed. And thank you everybody for listening. You guys have a good rest of your night.